Well, I would say the biggest thing that comes to my mind is to be patient with yourself. That this is a very big transition. It's expected, like we talked about. It's very positive, but it's huge, And I don't think that as a culture we make enough of this. I mean, think about somebody brought this up at one of my events. Think about retirement. Like, retirement is a big deal. Like, you work for the same company, let's say, for 25 years, and they have a party for you, and they give you a gift, and then people are checking in on you. Hey, Joe, how are you? What did you do in your first week without coming to work? What did you do in your first month? We don't really do that so much with the emptiness. It's kind of understated. So I think it's a great time for you to just realize that this is some time you're going to be patient with yourself. You can't expect all this change to happen all at once. It's not going to be smooth. You're not going to feel really good inside, most likely, all of the time. But you have been a patient parent, and it's time for you to be patient with yourself.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. It's the author podcast where we get to meet great people from around the world, authors who come in and share their stories. And today we're talking life stories, and timely for me and my family. I'm really excited to go down this path. Rita's here to talk about her book. And now back to me, stories from an empty nest. That's where I am, empty nest, and now again, full nest. We'll get into all that. But Rita's here to share her story. I'm excited about her book and where we're going to go together. So if you are a parent and your children are getting to that point where college and university and kids are exiting the home and you're like, what now? Well, then Rita's got the perfect book for you. And now back to me. Rita, welcome. Nice to have you on the show.
What a nice introduction. And I can't get into the conversation with you.
I love it. Okay, so Rita, let's start here. Where are you in this great big globe that we live on? Where are you?
I live in Jamestown, Rhode Island, which is across Narragansett Bay from Newport, Rhode Island, which I think more people have probably heard of. And that's where I grew up. And the best thing I can tell you is it's beautiful. There are rolling farmlands and miles of coast along the Atlantic Ocean.
Nice.
I can remember being a teenager, and my first job was as a waitress at Howard Johnson's serving fried clams. And I remember the best part of all of that was when my shift was over, I hopped on my bike and I just went pedaling to the ocean and jumped in at the beach and washed all that grease from my hair, and then I would fall asleep on the warm sand. So it's a lovely place. I would say it makes you want to go outside and experience nature and hike and run and play tennis and golf and just sit there on a bench and look at the ocean. That's all nice.
Beautiful. Well, sounds like a beautiful place. I've never been to Rhode Island, anywhere around there, so I got to come sometime, right?
Yeah, it's not that far from you.
Oh, yeah, it's not that far at all for me. No, that's right. Okay, so it's on my list. On my list.
I've got
all right, and maybe some clams. Maybe some clams too, right?
Clams. They have them everywhere.
All right.
So you're all set.
Awesome. That's good. Rita, your journey as an author, how did all this begin for you? How did you even get onto this path? Just become an author and write a book?
To be honest, I was a writer for the Providence Journal. I wrote a column for many years that kind of happened midway through being a mom, and I got this opportunity to do that, and I loved it. I got to write about anything I wanted once a week, and my column, I was just so blessed with it. It's like I think I'm a very curious person to begin with, so to have this like carte blanche to go talk to anyone you want and ask them any question you want was like wonderful. So nice. I talked to cancer patients and homeless people and veterans and farmers and just about anyone. And I also had the privilege of interviewing Sally Ride and Walter Cronkite and Dave Brubeck and many others.
Wow.
in the end, I just loved doing that. It was a wonderful writer's challenge, too, for you writers out there, because at the time I had 800 words to work with each week. And so the objective was to tell my story in that time, beginning in that space, beginning, middle, and end. And it was actually, over the years, became a wonderful constraint because I had to learn how to choose my words very wisely and make my point very succinctly. And I think that's something that readers really, really appreciate. So that's how I started.
Interesting. So that having that 800 character limit or word limit, do you think that really helped shape you as a writer today to kind of be able to write concisely and
Absolutely.
to the point like that? Okay.
Absolutely did. And so then going on to my book, it was not that surprising that, as a writer, one of the ways that I started to process my thoughts and feelings when my youngest left for college, and there I was in the empty nest feeling kind of unmoored, I started to write every morning, and the way that all came out of me was in stories like my columns. So my book ends up that it is a memoir, but it's all these individual stories of that time in my life that are stitched together by really chronology. So
Okay. So the idea for the book came from just the experiences of going through that empty nest transition then for you?
yes, I was not intending to have a book. It was the two things that really helped me when I really was struggling in those first few months was that I was a runner and that I was a writer. So my mornings consisted of first thing in the morning, before I could awake and say why I shouldn't go out there and run, I just push myself out the door and run. Then I would come in, brew some coffee, and write. And morning after morning and mile after mile, I had pages and pages of all this empty nest stuff. And eventually I started to say, hey, I might have a book here. And it turns out that I did.
It's interesting. As I look at the cover of your book and hear you talk about your life, I see someone running. It looks like the beach.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tie-ins there. Is that on purpose then?
Actually, the book cover with the runner that I've asked, is that me running? I say, do you think it is? But it was not. But
Yeah.
that was designed by the artist at our publisher, and
Nice.
she just picked it out of the synopsis of the book, and it's so perfect. It's really just perfect.
I like it. Any other words of wisdom for a writer? You talk about writing to a limit of words, and that kind of really helped you. But anything else that would help somebody new, maybe that wants to write their own memoir, that you could share?
So there is actually a chapter in my book that is about that lost feeling that I had because I was no longer writing for the journal and I didn't really know what to do. And so this is so funny, but during that time I had this very vivid dream, and it was about my Auntie Gert. And just for those of you who don't know my Auntie Gert, she is a very beautiful woman, very down to earth, very practical, and very, very outspoken. Like she would just come up and tell you exactly what she thought of anything. So here I am asleep, and my Auntie Gert appears in my dream, and she says to me, if you want to be a writer, just write. And I woke up and I was sweating, and it was just so powerful. And I thought, yeah, you're right. And that is exactly the best advice I've ever heard about being a writer. And I would say to people just starting out, find a time, like, I don't know, 9 to 11 in the morning or on the train to work or whatever it is that you can commit to every day. You're going to write, and you're going to sit there. And if it's uncomfortable and you don't really like what's coming out of you, just know that that's all part of it. Like, even with years and decades of experience, I don't always like what's coming out of me, but you just have to stay with it. And the other piece of advice that goes hand in hand with that is to just read. Like, read anything and everything you can get your hands on so that you are
Right.
filling your head with words, and that will help to inspire you, and it will help you become a better writer too.
During the process of writing the book, did you come to experience some of your own limitations as an author that you had to kind of work through?
Oh, yeah. There
Yeah.
was lots of them. Like, when I decided that this was going to become a memoir as opposed to stories, I ended up saying, well, I think this would be a lot better if each chapter was grounded in scene as opposed to these long narrative things that I was writing to process my thoughts and feelings. So changing those chapters, either throwing out long narrative sections, or in some cases, I threw out whole chapters and started over. But to put things in scene, and then how to seamlessly tie this together. Again, as I said, they were all stories. So, how do you make these different stories? Like, in one story, you're talking about getting reacquainted with your husband, or at least trying to. Or in another story, you're talking about visiting your parents and finding out that they have Beethoven blasting on their stereo, and they're having this brunch, this big feast, and what you learn when you go inside and join them. So, how do you tie this all together? And so I was able to do that with some flashbacks sprinkled in, but mostly chronology. So,
Okay. All right. The title of your book is interesting to me because it seems to allude to the fact that I know, as a parent myself with 3 adult children now, as a parent, when your kids are small, your whole identity is wrapped up in your children. Your whole identity is wrapped up in scheduling and school and taking your kids here and there, doctor's appointments and sporting events. And you're just always about the family, always about the kids. And when kids leave home, it's like you kind of come back to yourself. You come back to you and pick up from where you left off before you had kids. Is that kind of where we're going with the title of the book? Because that's where I feel led.
absolutely. If you just in the first chapter, it starts with the moment I found out that I was pregnant, and how instantly everything changes because you've just spent however many years. For me, it was like 20 something years of everything was about me, and then suddenly almost nothing is. And
Right.
then you become, hopefully a devoted parent. And you,
Right.
like you said, your schedules, your routines, everything is revolving around your family. And then it stops. And you're like,
Yeah.
what? Who am I? What is this? It's
Right.
incredible.
Yeah.
So, yes, that is it. But
Okay.
it's interesting because as the whole search for myself continued throughout the book, when I got to the end, I realized, actually, I'm not really going to be at the best if everything is about me. That's not going to be my best self.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think, over those years when our kids are small, we don't have a lot of time for ourselves. We're not developing ourselves. We put a lot of ourselves on hold
yes.
in those years because we don't have enough time at the end of the day to write a book or create a podcast or whatever we want to do. We're so tied up in our schedules, right? We seem to delay a lot of the things that would make us happy in the moment for the sake of our kids. And we do it because we love them.
Exactly.
And, that's the whole reason. But I think by the time we get to that point when our children are out of the house, then we're like, we don't know where to start. There's so many unstarted, unfinished dreams that we've never really had a chance to focus on.
Exactly.
So this book seems to be a good companion for somebody at that stage of life.
Exactly. I hope that it is. That's my goal with the book, is to be an emotional guide to the empty nest, that you will feel, because something in that book will resonate with you, that you're not alone. It's a huge, huge transition, the empty nest. And I think that, we don't give it that much thought until it happens. even though it's so planned, I mean, when you have your youngest kid, the moment you know that this is coming, that, what, 1 decade, maybe 2 decades later, you're going to be in this position. And the other thing that's really interesting about this transition is that it's very positive, that the whole point of everything you've done during all those crazy years is that you really, really want your children to grow up and become happy, well-adjusted adults out there in the world for themselves. So even though it's all planned, and even though it's very positive, this transition is difficult. So it's a
Right.
happy one, but it's a difficult one all at the same time.
Yeah, and we chatted about this, you and I, together earlier, that for our family, we have 3 children, and they all left around the same time, which was a huge kind of take off the bandage in one swipe type thing. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Like we've gone from 5 people in the house to 2 in a period of 2 months-ish before everyone left. And it was just this mass exodus. And for me, my initial response was, look at all the free time we have. Wow. I'm celebrating. But I look over to my wife, and she's not having the same experience as I am. She was the glue that kept all 5 of us running. She kept us on schedule. That was her love language to us.
Yes.
And it was like somebody took her words away in that moment. She couldn't do the things that brought her joy, and as she served her family, because everyone's gone. And so she was actually seeing it as a loss, and I was seeing it as a win. Yeah. And as we realized that in conversation together, I realized I needed to tone down my joy in the sense of being super excited about all this free time, and also understand that she needed some support in this moment. Yeah. So there is that side of it too, right? You talk about it as being a joyful experience, but there is, for some people, it's actually a very tough time when your children leave home.
Yes, that was for me, but I thought it would be joyful. So that was the catch on my part, was I thought one thing, and it felt very differently than I thought it would.
Yeah.
So
how do you think your book's going to help somebody who's on the very edge of this becoming a reality? Kids are packing up. They're going to be going away to school soon for them in their home, and they've never crossed this line before. The biggest thing for me, Rita, was the quietness of our house after our kids left. The busyness, the clutter, the dishes in the sink that used to annoy us, they weren't there anymore.
And
the food in the fridge.
That annoyed that they weren't there anymore.
Right. And the food was still in the fridge after we purchased it, which was great. But there was just this quietness in our house that was really, really tough. How do you think this book is going to be a great support for somebody who's on the edge of making that big transition from a busy house to a quiet house?
So I have had the opportunity now to share my book with all sorts of different people. And I've had events where people have come up to me, or they've even stood up in front of all the other people there and talked. And this one woman comes to mind who's read my book prior to her twins, her 2 only daughters, leaving for college. And she was crying at the event. She said, because it was helping her to anticipate all the different things. And then coming full circle after she had a few months under her belt as an empty nester, she was great enough to join me in an event and have a conversation together, and all the different perspectives that she added. So, everybody's empty nest is different, but at least I feel like it opens the discussion on some of the things that may happen and some of the feelings that you might have. So I think it's good. It gets your mind and heart into that space.
Yeah. And the other part that really kind of sinks in for me too is I'm looking at my empty nest story from my relationship with my wife. There's 2 of us together, so we have each other. There's a lot of single parents in our world, single moms, single dads.
Good point.
And when their children leave, there's no partner in the room to support you And I think that's another part that we don't talk enough about
Yep.
is how do you do this on your own,
Yeah.
right? And I
And
think your book could be a great support too for that.
corollary to that, in my travels, talking about empty nests, I found that this is a real critical time for your partner and you, because many people don't survive. Many marriages do not survive this time because they had related so much to each other in the way of mom and dad, and then it's not there and they go their separate ways. So yes, that is it's very difficult. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so on any end. I I know we've talked about the whole thing about one of the surprises that I had in my empty nest is all the other changes that come at you. Like, who is this man I'm married to? And what am
Right.
I doing with him? And there's lots of that in the book, and some of the chapters are pretty hilarious about our attempts to get to know each other again. Let's
Reconnect, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's part of it.
It's interesting. Yeah. The one thing I have another podcast called Dad Space. We talk about it over there as well. But my suggestions to people who are getting close to the empty nest stage, if you are in relationship with your partner, is to invest in each other early.
Yes.
Way before the reality of your kids packing up and moving out. You need to invest in each other. Your kids are old enough to take care of themselves. The two of you need to go and spend time together.
Yeah.
Reconnect, build that solid foundation for what's to come,
That's
like in preparation. Don't wait until the kids leave
great.
to start.
Great.
Start earlier than that, right?
Advice. I had people tell me again in my empty nest tour how they, scheduled vacations, or they even, when they were going to drop their kids off at college, they had a vacation scheduled that after they didn't go home, they went right to vacation so that they could be together and have fun and kind of reconnect. And I thought, well, what a great idea. I've got to say, I had none of that. I did not anticipate it. I don't know why it's so obvious, but.
Interesting. So from the stories in your book, then, what kind of things do you cover for readers within the covers of your book that kind of we can anticipate as a reader? What kind of things do you like to make sure that your readers pick up on?
So, again, it's based on my experience. So it covers everything from, my feelings about the whole time and the things I did to kind of cope and learn and grow and stretch. But it includes wonderful chapters about getting to know my husband again and all the things that happened there. It has quite a lot about my parents, because I think, as is true with many of us in the so-called sandwich generation, my parents were getting older. And so all of a sudden, my kids left and my caretaking went from my kids to my parents in a heartbeat. Like, it was very different. Obviously, the responsibilities are different, but having to have an ongoing responsibility for someone other than yourself was the same. So that is a theme that really has resonated with a lot of people. There were other things like, I don't know about you, but we sort of neglected a lot of things that needed to get done around our house because we were so busy with the kids and everything. And so all of that came back at us in a big way. So making decisions about where we're going to move, we're going to renovate, what are we going to do? Our beloved Black Lab was getting older, and some of the things that we went through with her. So many, many things that happened all at the same time, the convergence of midlife, I like to call it. So it is about the emptiness, but it's all the other things. I mean, one thing is that relating with your adult children, like sometimes they want you to back off, back off. I'm a big guy
Yeah.
now. But then they
Yeah.
want you and they need you. So it's this back and forth of growing, each of you on either side of it and how that evolves. So there's a lot of that in there too.
So a lot of about our own identity,
Yeah,
trying to figure out who we are.
exactly.
That part of having adult children was really tough for me too, is what my kids needed from me and what they didn't want from me. Right? Because just because you moved out of the house doesn't mean you're not my kid anymore. You're still my kid. I have lots of memories of you little, and learning how to walk and all those things are still fresh in my mind. I feel like it went by really fast, but for my kids, they're probably like anxious to get out of the house. I'm anxious to keep you around. So I just kind of struggled kind of figuring out my place with my children. And then once they have their own children, then you're like, I don't even know, because it's your discipline with your children, and I would go this way, but you want to go that way. So now I have to learn how to parent through my children to their children. There's a whole nother element of that when you have grandchildren come into the play. You start all over again, right?
I will keep that in mind.
Yeah, keep that in mind. It's really hard because you want your children to establish their own identity, but at the same time, they're still your children, right? You still see them struggle, and you want to help, but you don't know how far you can go without going too far.
Sorry about those noise.
Yeah. Right? You just don't know how far you can go with your kids before you go cross the line, and they're like, hey, that's enough. Back up, back up. I got this, right?
Yes. Yeah, and it sounds like you've had some interesting things going on with you in your empty nest now.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. One of my sons has come back home with his two kids, and Grandpa Dave here has to now watch children that are like under 2. I'm 56, and like I've done this once, and now I'm getting deja vu. I have to do it all over again, right? Changing diapers and feedings and all that. Wow, I thought I was done.
Second nature, though, right?
It's like riding a bike, but it's like riding a bike that hasn't been ridden in a long time. So it doesn't work the same way. I got to learn it all over again.
Boy or girl grandchildren?
I have both, a 1-year-old boy and a 2-year-old granddaughter. So
how nice.
Right. It's beautiful. I love them. And it's so great to have them here. It's not a burden. It's just a change, right? And it wasn't a change we anticipated.
No, I can imagine. So you're back to 5 again.
Back to 5. And that's why I'm so excited to have your book and have you on, because any type of conversations we can have like this, I think there are other people and they have their own situation, whatever that is. And when I find a book like this, I just think it really helps a lot of people. And there's people listening to this going, oh, you should hear my story.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you go out and talk to readers and people and get those stories. That's amazing.
It's been terrific. Like, I can be at a bookstore even, and people come up to me. And I mean, before all of this, I had this vision in my head that the people that would be reading my book would be, mainly mothers, but parents of kids who are leaving or have left. And that's true. But I've had other people, and I've had like hilarious conversations, like, well, I guess maybe they're not so hilarious, but I've had people say, so, what can you tell me about the empty nest? And then they just stop you, and then they start laughing, and they say, so here's our situation. Our kids are in their 20s and they're still living with us. So do you have anything in your book about how to get them out of the empty nest? So we can have an empty nest? And I'm like, I don't really have anything like that in my book, but that's a good question. And, just I've had wonderful young people, like they can't be more than 21 or 22, come up, and they're very, very interested in my book. And I'm thinking, geez, by my best guess, you look like you're 21, maybe 22. Why are you so fascinated with all this? And then they stand there and they're listening and they're asking questions. And then they come out with it that they're going to get this book and give it to their parents. So that's another unexpected thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's bring in an audience of readers for your book, Rita. And they're gathered around to come and listen. What are some of the things that you would talk to an audience in adjacent to your book, as a support to your book, for a room full of people who are empty nesters? What kind of things do you want to say to them? Because they're here right now listening to us. They're identifying. They press play for a reason. They want to know more about you and your book and this topic. What kind of things do you think that we should say to them to encourage that empty nest parent?
Well, I would say the biggest thing that comes to my mind is to be patient with yourself. That this is a very big transition. It's expected, like we talked about. It's very positive, but it's huge, And I don't think that as a culture we make enough of this. I mean, think about, somebody brought this up at one of my events. Think about retirement. Like, retirement is a big deal. Like, you work for the same company, let's say, for 25 years, and they have a party for you, and they give you a gift, and then people are checking in on you. Hey, Joe, how are you? What did you do in your first week without coming to work? What did you do in your first month? We don't really do that so much with the emptiness. It's kind of understated. So I think it's a great time for you to just realize that this is some time you're going to be patient with yourself. You can't expect all this change to happen all at once. It's not going to be smooth. You're not going to feel really good inside, most likely, all of the time. But you have been a patient parent, and it's time for you to be patient with yourself.
Okay. What about one word of caution maybe for an empty nest parent? Something that maybe your book talks about, but something that if you had a chance to go back as a parent, you're like, I probably would have approached it differently now that I see it in this perspective. Maybe I could have done better in that situation. Anything kind of stand out for you as a parent?
You mean looking back on when you were a parent?
Yeah.
Well, I guess there's the times when you worry a little too much because they're not under your roof and you can't see what they're doing. I had a very not so great encounter with my son, who was in Washington, D.C. for college, and he was, just say he was not being so communicative. So I had called him quite a few times and hadn't gotten a response. So I called the university and I got their security to go out to his dorm and knock on his door. And of course, you can imagine, I got a call.
Mom.
I got the mom call, but it was like, I'm okay. And now I'm going to hang up. So that was pretty fun.
There you go.
But yeah, I think I could just relax a little bit more about them, but it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard, right? There's a lot of love there and there's a lot of concern. And the one thing that somebody told me when my firstborn, when we were in the hospital with him, when he was born, was somebody said, get used to the idea that your heart beats outside of your chest now that you're a parent.
That's wonderful.
Like, there's a piece of you that you can't always know where they are, how they're doing, where they are. Like, if you ask me right now, apart from my youngest son who's upstairs with his children at my house, the other two, either my daughter and my oldest son, I have no idea what they're doing today.
Yeah,
I haven't talked to them today because they're busy doing life. My oldest son works in construction. He's probably working somewhere building something. But we occasionally meet up through text, but get used to your heart beating outside of your body, right? And that they're going to follow their own path in life. And you can teach them as long as you can, but at one point they're going to make a move and move on with their life. That's the natural order of things. That's what we do as parents. We help our kids grow up and we give them the right foundation and we cheer them on, but we're not tied to the results.
Yeah.
Right? That's not how we measure our success as parents, through the success or failures of our kids. We did our best. Yes. And up to that point, now it's their turn to kind of to figure out the world on their own, right?
Yeah.
That was really hard for me.
It is hard.
To not hide failures from my kids so that they wouldn't fail, right? I want them to succeed in everything, right? But sometimes they're going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
But all we can do is be there for them, right?
That's right. That's hard. It's hard because as they get older, it becomes a lot less hands-on. And so
Right.
I always felt like I could control a lot more when they were very little, and then it just kept getting away from me from there.
Yeah, I see a kind of a role switch from being a parent to being a partner,
Yes.
right? We are a partner with our kids as they do life now. They still love having that support,
Yeah.
especially when they need money. That's always fun.
Yeah.
Those requests still come in, but they love having a partner in life instead of just a parent, right, to them in their new stage. So,
Yeah. That's true. And that's
I
part
love it.
the whole emptiness process is the evolving relationship between you and your kids, how it
Excellent.
changes.
So, Rita, somebody standing at the bookstore, they're in that section of the store that's all about empty nest, and your book is featured there. They're looking at it. They're deciding whether or not this is the book for them, and you walk up to them in the bookstore and you're like, oh, this is my book.
Yes.
What would you say to that parent as they're making a purchase decision about your book? If you could talk to them for a moment or two in the store, how would you explain this book to somebody who has never read it before?
Again, I would say that I think this could be your emotional guide to the emptiness. And I think that reading the stories in it are going to make you feel that you're not there alone, that there's other people that have gone in this transition, and the feelings and the thoughts and the actions even that you're experiencing, you're not alone. So
Beautiful. I love it. Rita, where do we go to connect with you as a reader? We want to follow our favorite authors. And I know you've talked about other things coming up in the future, which is great. But where do we go? How do we connect with you as listeners?
So you could go to my website, which is ritalussier.com. And I have some of my stories there. I'm also on Substack, and I publish regularly on there. And I'm on social media too, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, which I'm just trying to figure out myself, but I have help, so that's good. It's a whole new world.
It's a whole new world. I love it. Can you give us a little taste of what you're working on in the future? Because I want to have you back, Rita, in the future to come and talk about new projects. So I'm selfishly asking for that reason, so I have more time with you. But can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on in the future?
I'm working on an idea for a book that's not fully formed yet. So
okay, good.
I'm going to wait until it's a little better. But yeah, I'm having so much fun with this one. There's going to be another one.
I love it. Okay, well, keep us in mind. Come back because we want to celebrate with you when that's ready as well.
I will. And I hope that you and your wife get some inspiration out of the book.
Thank you so much, Rita. Everyone, all information as always in the show notes, the book. And now back to me, Stories from an Empty Nest from Rita. You got to go check it out. It's a great book. Take it on your next jog. I don't know, take it to the beach. Read it at the beach with some clams, whatever you want to do. You could do that.
Yes.
But again, Rita, thank you so much for doing this. Great to have time with you.
Yeah, I enjoyed it very much. Thank you, Dave.
Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. Glad to have you here. I just want to let you know that you can always find out what we're doing live in the moment by going to our YouTube channel. Head over to livingthenextchapter.com. There'll be a link right there. Head over to our YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things that all the YouTubers love to say. And in our YouTube channel, a couple things. You're going to get advanced listens. You're going to get the episodes that we're working on in real time. So we record and post daily on our YouTube channel. I'd love for you to give us a follow over there. As well, we're making playlists. We have over 500 episodes. So finding the right episode for you, we're trying to group things into playlists. So if you like children's books, if you like business, you like historical fiction, we're grouping our authors together to make it a little easier for you to find your favorite next author. So head over to livingthenextchapter.com. And again, I'd love to hear from you. Hearing from the listeners of the show is great. And I just want to say thank you for being a part of the podcast family. And I look forward to having you back for the next episode. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time and your listen. Take care.